White privilege is a way to silence anybody who is not of color. That's what white privilege is. It is just a leftist term that means shut up because you are not a member of a minority group.
Dude, you just going to just jump it off like that, huh? I thought you was going, slow walking or something. Let me know what you about to start talking about, bro.
Term that means shut up because you are not a member of a minority group, a privileged minority group in the leftist space. You're basically saying to white people who aren't racist, and you can't find any proof of their racism, that they must be racist because they're white. That is called racism. If you are accusing somebody of something simply because of the color of their skin without any evidence, that's called racism, gang. But you don't have to trust me. Let's go through what other people say the definition of white privilege is. You know, folks on the left, what do they say that white privilege is? Well, here's the definition of white privilege from the Southern Poverty Law Center. Quote, white skin privilege is not something that white people necessarily do, create, or enjoy on purpose. Unlike the more overt individual and institutional manifestations of racism, white skin privilege is a transparent preference for whiteness that saturates our society. White skin privilege serves several functions. First, it provides white people with perks that we do not earn and that people of color do not enjoy. Second, it creates real advantages for us. White people are immune to a lot of challenges. And finally, white privilege shapes the world in which we live, the way we navigate and interact with one another and with the world. So let's talk.
So there's an actual definition for white privilege. My gracious, sheesh. All right, break it down, bro.
Which we live, the way we navigate and interact with one another and with the world. So let's talk about the perks.
Let's talk about
the perks that white privilege supposedly confers upon you. So she says, the author here, she says that perks that are conferred upon you by white privilege include things like when you go to the grocery store and you get a Band-Aid, the Band-Aid is your skin tone. Seriously is what she says. Right? For those who live in the real world, this is also called the free market because most of the people in the country happen to have a lighter shade of skin. And if you want to sell more Band-Aids, then you are going to market to the group of people who buy more Band-Aids. But no, this is white skin privilege. Another example she uses is she says that if you go to a hotel, that the hotel shampoo works better with your hair if you're white than if you're black. And then she talks about the real advantages that are...
Is that true? I wouldn't know. I don't wash. I usually take all of my own stuff when we go to the hotel. Are we bougie? We might be. We usually take our own everything. Not our own bubble bath. Most times we gotta buy that when we get there. Whichever resort we go to, we gotta go to the local store and buy our own bubble bath. We don't use their bubble bath. I mean, can't have any chemicals that you don't know nothing about getting all up in your crevices and everything. I mean, because I'm sensitive. I got sensitive skin. So I ain't, But I want to know if what the lady is saying is actually true. If the shampoo that they provide in the hotel works better for white people hair than it does for melanated people hair.
Better with your hair if you're white than if you're black. And then she talks about the real advantages that are conferred upon you by white skin privileges. So what are those advantages? And this is where we really get to the meat of the matter. She says those advantages include skin color, quote, not working against me in terms of how people perceive my financial responsibility, style of dress, public speaking skills, or job performance, as well as people not assuming I got where I am professionally because of my race. America is a deeply racist country that is imbued with this white skin privilege, and that if you are black, you can never overcome this white skin privilege because you live in a deeply racist system that has been created by Western civilization, a Western civilization founded on racism, sexism, and bigotry. Statistical disparity does not necessarily mean discrimination. This is the first thing you need to know. Okay? Anybody who's ever been in a statistics class knows that this is true. Right? If they still teach statistics and it's not too much of a microaggression. So statistical disparity does not always mean discrimination. Right? The vast majority of people who play in the NBA are black. Very few of them are 5'9" Jews. Right? That is not because there is some sort of anti-Semitic conspiracy to keep 5'9" Jews out of the National Basketball Association. She said that one of the things that works against you if you're black in the United States is how people perceive your financial responsibility. Okay, first thing to say here.
Well, let me back up because she did say people perceive her to be less intelligent as a black person. Yeah, that's absolutely the truth. That's absolutely the truth. Remember we checked out Ami Horowitz, I believe his name is, where he was walking and he was on a college campus a university campus somewhere, and he was asking a bunch of white people, how do they feel about the voter ID law?
These type of people don't live in areas with easy access to DMVs or other places where they can get identification.
You can always get IDs you do over the internet. Does that also make it difficult for black people in particular?
Yeah, you have to have access to the internet. You have to be able to pay an internet service provider for certain fees.
Do you think that's harder for black people to go online?
Well, I feel like they don't have the knowledge of how it works. For most of the communities, they don't really know what is out there just because they're not aware.
And they went in saying a whole bunch of things that, in a nutshell, just said, you know, they're just too dumb to do it themselves. They don't know how to use the computer. They don't know their way to the MVA or the DMV, whatever y'all call it, where y'all are. Let me tell y'all something. There's some truth to what she's saying, but there's the thing is, you can't control ignorance. You can't control ignorance. Ignorance isn't racism. Ignorance is ignorance, right? And until someone has learned or taught something, then they're not going to know. But a lot of people run away from the truth so that they can be stuck in their ways. Because if you point out to someone that they're being a bigot, or if they're being racist, or if they're being ignorant, or if you just point out something that's contrary to how they were for the first 30 years of their life, 25, 40 years of their life, so forth and so on, then it makes them out to look like a liar. It makes their parents out to look like bad parents for raising them that way and missing the mark, or their schooling, or their friends that they know of who act the way that we're saying that they act. So, and those people that Army Horowitz was talking to, the white people that he was talking to, were all liberals. And they claimed that they were showing support by saying those ignorant things about these black people, these melanated people. Now, I don't know if they were saying it simply because of where they live or blah, blah, blah. I don't know, but it was ignorant, because whether they're in the hood or not, they should know how to daggone apply for an ID or go to the MVA, DMV, whatever you call it. So yeah, ignorance is the reason why we have these conversations, because some people have been extremely ignorant, and also the sins of your fathers and your grandfathers, forefathers, and whatnot are still being punished by people today. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. Some people are not over it, and I get it. Y'all want people just keep it moving, bro. You have just as many privileges as anybody else. Nobody's holding you down. You're only using that fallacy that all of us are racist and will hold you down, because it removes all responsibility and culpability from you to get out there and actually make something of yourself, to prove us wrong that there's nobody holding you down but yourself. Because if you do that to somebody, then now they believe, wow, I am a failure. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about the person that complains about stuff like this. Their horrible vice is denial. They have to deny it, because if they don't deny it, then they make themselves out to look like racist or ignorant. And they can't have that, because you're already winning in their eyes. You're already successful. You're already in control of everything in their eyes. Already doing everything. You're not shopping in the neighborhoods where they are. So they are assuming that if you're not in these neighborhoods shopping where we are, because right now it's crime and there's roaches and rats over here where we shop, then y'all must be shopping somewhere way nicer than this. Not understanding that there are white hoods, there are Hispanic hoods, African hoods, African American hoods. There's so many types of hoods. I'm talking about ghettos. Black people aren't the only people that live in them, period. But people, just narrow-minded individuals, just want to keep that fight going for as long as they possibly can without having a conversation and moving on. Okay, we came here to listen to Ben. So, yeah.
It's how people perceive your financial responsibility. Okay, first thing to say here, capitalism is colorblind. The only color that capitalism cares about is green. Okay, capitalism seriously doesn't care about your color, it doesn't care about your race, it doesn't care about your sexuality. In fact, capitalism is the single best way to overcome racism and sexism and bigotry and homophobia, because if you decide to be any of these things, if you decide to be a racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, the guy next door will not, and he will take all of that money from you. You will be outcompeted. This is the beautiful thing about capitalism. Your advantage in the marketplace is catering to as many clients as possible and to hiring the best people possible. But the usual statistics that are thrown out are statistics about, for example, lenders systematically discriminating against qualified black borrowers. The truth is that if banks routinely did this, they would go bankrupt, of course, because there would be other banks that came in and spend money on black borrowers, and those people would pay back their loans, and these banks would be able to make a mint off of all of this. The widespread perception that black people were not getting loans led the federal government to create a subprime lending program specifically designated to get people of minority ethnic status into homes they could not afford with bad credit. Okay, if it had all been lending discrimination, you would have assumed that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac would have been fine. There would have never been a subprime mortgage crisis. Nothing I'm saying here says discrimination has never existed in America's history. That would be stupid and afactual. But to suggest that it is a continuing factor in American life that is putting people under the boot of the white establishment is just factually nonsense.
Listen, at the end of the day, if you're trying to get a loan and you're being denied because you're black, what does that mean? Be honest with me. What does that mean? Does that mean you're going to stop trying to get a loan from here on out? What's that going to, is it going to stop you? Are you going to go somewhere else? It's going to be inconvenient that now you have to go somewhere else. Some people take many other things into account. Some people are still racist as hell, blatantly. That's because they have systems lined up that actually protect them. But then you have some people who look at statistics, and because of income, a certain group, black people, I guess their ratio of being able to pay back a loan that they were given before, or not paying that loan back. What's it called when you don't pay a loan back on time, and it does something where you get charged for it? Does that, then they're not going to give us the loans. And that has happened in many places before, and they've been able to prove it on their books. But at the end of the day, just like ignorance is not a monolith. Ignorance does not only stick to one race. And you're going to run into people who will be stuck on your race and will make decisions because of your race. But everywhere you go, it's not going to be that way. You just got to keep it moving. You got to keep it moving, man. That's just like your parents taught you when you went to school. Don't even think about what they're saying. You just pay attention to your books. You pay attention to what the teachers say, and you be nice, and you tell me or your teacher if anybody does anything to you. It's just saying, look, you're there for one reason, and that's to get smarter, to learn your way around to make new friends, and just, I don't know, just learn how to become a better individual. Well, that's the same thing it is in life out here. That's why he was talking about capitalism. If you bring value to anyone, they'll pay you for it, provide value to you, or extend resources to you that was out of your reach before. But if you're just standing by like, nah, nobody's going to give you anything. You're not earning anything by doing that. You're spending valuable time where you can be out there chasing success and getting everything that you should be getting. Because honestly, while we're doing all of this bickering back and forth, you got many different nationalities coming over to the country, and sometimes illegally, and somehow they are able to make a life for themselves, for other people. I mean, there's some people who are coming over this joint dying trying to get over here. Dying trying to get over here. Their whole family is poor where they're from and are being abused. But they come here and they hustle. Do what they gotta do, and next thing you know, a lot of their family are here and they own businesses and all these other things. We're wasting a lot of time with the BS. is all I'm saying. I went all around Sally's barn to say that, but we wasting a lot of time with that.
That is putting people under the boot of the white establishment is just factually nonsense. Job performance, right? They say there's discrimination in job performance, and this is white privilege, right? The fact is that Mizzou has affirmative action in its hiring processes. There are already laws on the books that bar discrimination based on race in hiring. There's already a federal Equal Employment Opportunity Commission that investigates charges of racism on a routine basis. It has a program. It's called E-Race, the Eradicating Racism and Colorism in Employment. It's designed to fight discrimination against people of color. That is not white privilege. That is the government going out of its way to attempt to fight individual racists and, in some cases, go beyond the evidence in order to demonstrate racism. Talk to the Asian guy who has to score 230 points above the black guy in order to get in the same college before you tell me about white privilege. Okay, poverty. And the idea is that blacks in America are more impoverished than whites because of systemic racism. Okay, according to the Brookings Institute, which is a very left institute, the Brookings Institute has found that if you want to not be permanently poor in the United States, it's actually very easy. This is a wonderful country. If you don't want to be permanently poor in the United States, you need to do 3 things. Finish high school, get a job, don't get pregnant before you get married. That's it. If it's white privilege to sit on the side because you can't go to college because the black guy took your slot because he had a lower SAT score, and it didn't matter that he grew up rich and you grew up poor, right? If that's white privilege, then nobody would want to be a member of the white privileged class. People need to start taking personal responsibility. I know these words are out of style. Personal responsibility for the stuff that you do. It is your life. Make something of it.
That is true. People need to start taking personal responsibility. Personal responsibility. If I go up in somebody's face, what's my point of telling somebody, you got white privilege? What's my point of telling that to anyone? What am I trying to achieve where that will be a part of the conversation, will be a valid part of the conversation, a valid argument of mine? When can I say that? Like, if that's in the movie, and now it's my line it's my time to say my line, that's going to be the thing that's really going to shoot me to stardom. And my line is, you got white privilege. Okay, give me some context. I don't get it, man. I really don't get it. Go hard. If you do something, get out there and do something. Now, I get that the people who show up in the protests and whatnot, they have a job to do too. They have a job to do, and clearly they are doing their jobs. And I'll explain. They're doing their job because had they not posed these questions to Ben Shapiro, then he wouldn't be breaking it down to people right now. And I wouldn't be hearing it. Some of you already know what he said, because some of you are great Ben Shapiro fans, or you just seen him in many different settings, in debates with many people. And you know how intelligent he is, you know how talented he was as a child and everything. That what he's saying makes actual factual sense. But one thing that you are not, you're not on the side of that lady who are posing these questions at him, and you don't have the same vantage point or periphery as she does. So you're not going to have the same concern that she has. So the fact that she posed this, she's getting her answer, and not only is she getting her answer, but people just like her are getting their answer. Especially with me reacting to this and you guys sharing this possibly, people who look like me are going to click this. They're going to click this, and they're going to, and there's going to be some people who feel the same way as the lady who posed those questions to Ben Shapiro. And they're going to receive some information that's to the next level. I want to hear whatever y'all want me to know in the comments below. And if you have yet to hit that subscribe button, please make sure you do so on your way out the door. Once again, guys, I am Van, and now we are all the LFR family. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video, hopefully inside the Patreon as well. You all have been amazing. Love y'all.